Most people think fixing your life means changing everything outside of you as quickly as possible. New job, more money, better situation, everything upgraded overnight. And for a moment, that sounds right. It sounds like progress. But what actually happens for some of us is we start changing internally, our standards shift, the way we see ourselves shifts, what we're available for shifts, and then we hit this really weird phase where nothing outside has fully caught up yet, and it just feels off. Like you've outgrown your old life, but your new one hasn't fully landed. And that's usually where people start panicking because it doesn't feel like progress, it doesn't feel like movement, it feels like you're stuck or doing something wrong. So, in this video, I'm going to walk you through what actually happens when you raise your standards and leave your old identity and then find yourself in that in between where your reality hasn't caught up with you yet, because this phase can feel really destabilizing. And I want to show you how to stay steady here instead of slipping back into old patterns, because this is the part no one really prepares you for. When things are almost working, when opportunities are starting to show up, when you're not struggling anymore, but you're not stable either, and suddenly you feel anxious for no clear reason, or impulsive, or doubtful, or just tired out of nowhere. And it's confusing because on paper things might actually be improving, but internally it feels messy and inconsistent. And this is where people start doing things that doesn't make sense because they're desperately trying to look for regulation. So it could look like spending money they just made, ignoring messages, emails, or opportunities, procrastinating, picking apart situations, losing momentum, creating stress where there wasn't any. And then sitting there thinking, why do I always do this when things start going well? And what's actually happening here is your system is trying to adjust to a version of you that it doesn't fully trust yet, because money and success aren't always external. They are tied into what feels safe, what feels normal, what you're used to handling. So when that starts shifting, your body doesn't just relax into it. It can get a bit on edge, like it's waiting for something to go wrong or trying to pull you back to what feels known, what feels familiar, even if what's known wasn't that great. This is the phase people call the liminal space. But before we even get into that word, just understand what it actually is. It's that stretch of time after you've changed something internally, but before your reality has fully rearranged around it. And most people don't respect this phase at all. They try to rush through it or fix it or get out of it as quickly as possible, because the mind, the inner litigator, gets really loud here. It starts saying, this isn't working, you need to do more. You've been patient long enough. You should have hit this by now. You're falling behind. And a lot of those timelines you're stressing about aren't even real. They are artificial. They are just your anxiety trying to create some kind of certainty so you don't have to sit in the unknown. And this is where people mess it up, because they think more effort is what's needed, more action, more strategy, more thinking, when actually what's being asked of you here is something way less glamorous. It's stability. It's being able to stay where you are without constantly interfering with it. Because what's happening underneath all of this is integration. Whatever you've shifted has to move through your whole system. If it's money, then the version of you who can hold it has to settle in. Your habits, your decisions, the way you respond to having it, all of that has to adjust. If it's a business, then the identity of the person running it has to feel normal, not like you're pretending. If it's your lifestyle or your standards, then your nervous system has to get used to that being your baseline. And that just takes a bit of time. It takes a minute. There's no way around that part. And we don't really give enough credit to how long it takes for a new reality to actually grip properly. So, what people call being in a liminal space is basically saying, I've changed, I can feel that I've changed, but nothing outside of me has fully caught up yet. And that gap can feel really uncomfortable if you don't understand it, because you start second guessing yourself and poking at everything and trying to speed it up. But the more you do that, the more unstable it feels. This is where a lot of common money patterns get triggered, like needing to spend just to release the tension, or hesitating when something good comes in because you don't fully trust it, or assuming it's all going to disappear. So you brace for that unconsciously. And all of that is happening while you're consciously saying you want more. So there's this internal mismatch. And this is why it can feel like things fall apart right before they come together, because you're in the middle of adjusting to something new and your system hasn't settled yet. And if you can't sit in that adjustment without reacting to every uncomfortable feeling, you end up interrupting the process that was actually working. And this is why some people get close to making money and then somehow it slips, or they get opportunities and they don't follow through, or they build something and then lose momentum. It's not random. It's that they couldn't stay steady long enough for it to stabilize. And the people who do go on to make money and keep it aren't the ones who avoid this phase. They are the ones who can be in it without constantly trying to escape it. They can keep showing up the same way even when it feels uncertain. They don't keep changing direction every 5 minutes. They don't abandon what they just stepped into just because it hasn't fully paid off yet. And that's where the shift actually locks in. And something else that's worth understanding is that anything you rush into existence from that anxious, urgent place usually comes with that same energy attached to it. So you end up having to maintain it from that same pressure, which is exhausting and usually not sustainable. And that's why this pause, even though it feels frustrating, destabilizing, is where things actually get built properly. It's where your capacity catches up. It's where things become normal instead of feeling like a fluke or something you have to grip onto. So if you're in that phase right now where it feels like you're waiting or things are taking longer than you expected, try not to keep interrogating the timeline or forcing something to happen just so you can feel better for a moment. Just keep showing up the same way. Keep your decisions clean. Don't swing from one extreme to another, and let things settle, because that space you're in isn't empty. It just looks like it is from the outside, but there's actually a lot rearranging underneath it. And if you can learn to stay in that in between without panicking, without sabotaging, without running back to what feels familiar just because it's more comfortable, you don't just change your income, you change who you are in relation to money. And that's the part that actually lasts. The liminal space, this in between, is actually sacrosanct. So respect the space. Let me know in the comments below what you're finding to be most difficult during this phase. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, sending you love, and I will see you in a jiffy.